If you were to tell me right now they finish a game out of the playoffs or 15, I would take 15.
Hey, what's up, Setup Nation? Kyle Stanley here, and we're talking all things Cubs. I've got Sam Olbur on the show today, and I wanted to give a quick little preface here because you can see I've got Hawaii in the background here. I'm enjoying the Hawaiian weather while the Cubs are still not playing very well. So like I say in this conversation with Sam, I'd rather be an unhappy Cubs fan in Hawaii than an unhappy Cubs fan in 110-degree weather in Fresno, California, which is where I live. So we're doing that, but I want to really encourage you to stay to the end because we're doing a really fun game with Sam. You'll see what we get to here at the end. He is a guy with a lot of opinions, but I'm making him kind of press his own comfort level by doing a really fun game. So make sure you stay to the end. Let's get to it right now with Sam Olbur here on the Setup Man podcast. All right, Setup Nation, check it out. We got Sam Olbur from the Locked On Cubs podcast. And if you have not checked out Locked On, you are completely missing out because he and Matt Cozy do a phenomenal job. Good 1-2 punch over there. We had Matt on the show before, but I'm not going to go into the story. Matt already shared the story. If you guys missed it, make sure you check out that episode. I want to know, Sam, if you and Matt go out to dinner, who's picking up the tab?
Oh, good question. We're pretty even about it. Probably, yeah, pretty even. I'd say leans probably me sometimes.
Yeah. There you go.
Yeah.
You making the big bucks. You got to take care of dinner.
I didn't say that. I didn't say that. He just does a lot of work on the show, so I try and take care of him when I can.
There you go. Well, hey, we're going to be talking about whether the Cubs should be buying or selling. It's July 1. They are 39-46, which is pretty disgusting to say. But I've got a stat for you that I want to just get your reaction on this. You're a big reaction guy, and I want to hear how you feel when I tell you this. Mm-hmm. When the Cubs score 4 runs or more this year, they are 32-13. That's 45 games. They've played 85 games this year. That means that in the other 40 games, they have scored 3 runs or less. And in those games, Sam, they are 7-33. Just what do you take away from that? How does it make you feel?
Nauseous, physically sick, disgusted. I mean, what stands out more on that would be, first of all, the obvious of they've had 40 games or whatever it is of not scoring, 4 runs or more, which is bad. Also, they can't win low scoring close games, which is what Craig Counsell really was great at in Milwaukee. It's all of the bullpen. It's all of it. But the offense being that inept for this long of a time. I mean, I haven't looked. I always see the stats like since April 27th or whatever it is, but I wonder like where they're at as a whole. I think they've got to be now, a unanimous bottom 5 to 7 offense in the league, at least in the NL. It's awful.
It's pretty rough, and no matter which day it is, it feels like it's either the offense or the bullpen, and it really felt like this weekend in Milwaukee kind of summed up the season. There was 3 really bad innings. Yep. We were surprised to see them bounce back from one of those innings, which I think a lot had to do with just Justin Steele kind of lighting everyone on fire. But I mean, at this point, do you call that? It's so wild to me that you can see a team for this long after the first 26 games of the year when they started off 17-9. It's now been close to 60 games that they cannot show any resilience. Do you call that momentum? Do you call that bad luck? And how do you get out of that?
I think it's a combination of everything, and I think it stems from just not being able to produce. And I do think the guys on the team care, because if they didn't care, they'd be producing more, because you could tell in high leverage spots that they all are pressing. But, I think it stems from just a combination of everything: lack of urgency, lack of production, situational hitting, maybe just outright not talented enough. I mean, we continue to talk about guys like Christopher Morel. I mean, Carter against the Mets was in the booth on Saturday and talked about how, he's going to be an elite slugger. And it's like, well, he's batting under 200. So
slugging under 400.
Yeah. At what point, are we tired of seeing the projected stats, the expected stats? And, it's just a team that doesn't produce. And as Jed said on Friday, everything's going to look flat when you're not hitting. And they haven't hit in 2 consecutive months. And as Tyone said, it's more than just a slump. To answer the question, how do you turn it around? I don't know. If I knew that, I probably would be next to you in Hawaii permanently and making a lot of money. You know what I mean? I don't know that answer at all. The easy answer is guys that are supposed to hit. But even that, like Happ is now hitting. You know, Suzuki's struggling, but not at a point where he's killing the team. Bush has been better than what you thought he would be. Bellinger can't hit for any power. It's the sum of all the parts. It's the clutch hitting. It's when they do it. They haven't been able to solve that. And when they do, somebody comes in, like you said, and blows the game from the bullpen.
And, Sam, just to your Hawaii point, because I should have probably said something as we jumped on camera here. My thought is I'd rather be miserable as a Cubs fan in Hawaii than miserable back home. So come join me next year.
I'm miserable. Listen, I'd be miserable if I was in Hawaii, the Bahamas, the Caribbean, whatever it is. Nothing can change the fact that this team so far has ruined my summer.
I want to go back to the offense.
Great.
I interviewed Nico Horner. I think you saw that, when we were in Chicago, and I asked him a question, which was do you think offense is contagious? And he said yes. And that means good offense or bad offense. If you listen to JD or Boog, they're going to tell you no, it's not contagious. It's they go down that route. But when you hear it from a player like that, you can feel just how much these guys are feeling it. When Nico Horner tells you offense is contagious, that tells me that these guys are really feeding off the negativity from each other. The reason I bring this up is because Justin Steele the other day, right? The defense was letting him down. Comes in, screams in the dugout. Saw on a few posts in social media, some people said it was an outburst, that it was immature. Most Cubs fans, at least from me. Yeah, exactly. I'm right there. Tell me what you thought of the outburst.
Let me circle back to Nico real quick, because Dansby and Happ just had a podcast where they talked about some things that I thought were interesting as well, about clutchness and about how hard it is to get a hit with a man on second because you're pitched differently, and how WAR doesn't account for, getting a guy over when a guy's pitch, when you're a left-handed hitter and you're getting pitched outside, you need to roll over, hit a ball to second base to get that runner to third. Those are the things that it's nice to hear those guys discuss, because those are the things, as much as the obvious. We know the obvious. They haven't hit enough home runs, right? They haven't slugged enough. They haven't done the big things, but also the little things that, in my opinion, are big things in baseball. Runner on third, less than 2 outs, hit a sac fly, put the ball in play. Those things, are really difficult. And I just think as a sport, let alone the Cubs and Boog and JD as an organization, they've neglected those things. As far as the outburst goes, I thought it was extremely appropriate. I encourage it. It felt like it was too late. As my dad was telling me yesterday, it should have came about 2-3 weeks earlier from the manager, maybe in the middle of a game or something like that. Ultimately, does it have a huge effect? That remains to be seen. I remember in 2007, Piniella had a meltdown against the Braves, and I think that sparked a little bit of a hot streak for the Cubs. But to me, it's not about – this is where people get me confused, because I always get called on my show, the reaction guy, you're a meatball hothead. That's not what I'm doing. You need to send it to your players and your fans. The fans need to see, all right, Justin Steele's finally had enough. That's good to see, because we've been doing the same thing at our TV for 2 months. And I understand that these are big leaguers. There's a reason why they're big leaguers, and there's a reason I'm at home watching them. Mindset plays a part in it. But sometimes, as Coomer was saying on the air during that meltdown, because I didn't see it live, I was listening on the radio, he was like, sometimes when you get to a point as a professional athlete, enough is enough. And I thought we hit that threshold a while ago. I was really happy with the outburst, and I hope there's more to come, because this season's been a disaster so far. And saying it any other way would be sugarcoating it.
Well, and that's, I think, the next place that I want to go with this, and it goes into our topic of should they buy or sell. Everyone, as soon as the Justin Steele thing happened, first of all, in game, even though it happened, I was still like, they're still going to blow this game. And then when they came back and won, I was like, okay, maybe
Yeah,
maybe that
of
did
course.
something.
Because we're
Maybe.
fans, you know?
Yeah. And then Nico lead off home run the next day. I was like, okay, here we go. And then, of course, a 7-run inning, which really, no matter which way you look at it, Kyle Hendricks was not good that inning, but also Ian Happ, the miscue, whichever way. That's not the point of it. The
Right.
point is, it seems like there is this like, hey, we just want to see like what happened last year. June 8th, they started to turn it around. And then in July, they won 7 games in a row or something like that. And we want that to happen again. I don't know if I see it happening again. And
No.
that's where I'm just like, I don't want to see this team go and give away all their prospects and then just be below average for the next 10 years. Where do you stand on buy or sell?
I think the better question is do they sell or stand pat? I think
Mm.
buying is not happening right now at all. We just did this show, Matt and I, for Tuesday, and Matt was talking about selling. And my position is this: ultimately, this question will get answered. So, the month of July, it'll be usually it's pretty clear and obvious. Like last year, Jed could not have sold with the way they were playing heading into the deadline. It would be neglecting the fan base. They are going to have a similar type stretch, which neither of us see coming. I think that's fair to say. And if they don't, and they're 5, 6, 7, 4 under, the selling will be obvious. The question is it selling like the term, or is it, hey, we're just going to clear some cap space, or not cap space, it's an NBA term, but clear some money for next year? Because like, let's just hypothetically say they trade Happ and Tyone, hypothetically. Are they actually going to be that much worse than they were?
Right.
Like, it's
Yeah.
not like it's like, in 21, Rizzo and Brian and Javi. I mean, they literally were running out a minor league team the rest of the season. In this case, I think it's, it'll be let's clear some money. Let's get some money off the book so we can be more flexible in free agency. Maybe bring back a guy we like, maybe not go there. I think it'll be selling with a grain of salt, if you will, if it continues this way. Matt and I just talked about it. If they're not going to sell, they got to somehow win a series against Philly, probably sweep the Angels, because you're not going to go to Baltimore and probably win that series, and then take 3 out of 4 in St. Louis. So you have like a 9-4 stretch before the All-Star break, and then you come back and keep rolling. And I think it's a 25-game month of July. They probably got to win 16 of 25 to avoid a sell-offs, or trading guys. I don't see it happening, but I just think it'll get answered later on.
There's a few things there. I want to, first of all, you mentioned Happ and Tyone. Another guy I would put into that category would be Bellinger.
Yep.
Tyone, yeah, he's playing up to his contract this year.
He's pitching well, yeah.
He's pitching very well. However, he had the really, really bad first half of last year. Happ has been pretty bad until this last 3-4 week span. Bellinger, has just sandwiched pretty much 2 good months around 4.5 bad or 3.5 bad years. Do you think that those contracts are going to be tradable, or I don't know. I see them having to eat some of that money if they're going to trade those guys.
Yeah, it's a great question. I was surprised when I heard that there were teams interested in Bellinger at that price. I think Tyone is the guy you want to sell high on, because he has pitched well this year, and pitching every team at the deadline's looking for a guy that could start a playoff game. And I just think if you're the Cubs, you ask yourself, hey, is this guy worth $36 million over the next 2 years based on what we've seen so far? Or is it better off to start fresh? Next year we feel good about Cade. We feel good about Brown. We feel good about Wicks, Imanaga, Steele, Assad, whoever else there is. And so I think maybe you could trade Tyone at that controllable price and see if they'll eat all that. I think Happ would probably be the next guy I could see a team eating that. Like, I could see a team like the Dodgers or the Braves really being interested in Happ. But to your point, if they're going to eat all the costs, the team that trades for him, you're not going to get much back. It's just going to be about cost. And the Bellinger one's up in the air. The Yankees, it feels like the Yankees really like him, and they really like, probably because of their stadium design and, the short porch out there. So maybe Bellinger as well. The Horner thing was really interesting today too. So Morosi came out today and said the Mariners have some interest in Nico Horner.
Wow.
And there was a little bit of buzz there. So he would be an interesting guy because, he's pretty cost controlled. But he also that's a position where Morel can play at second base, Bush can play at second base, Shaw can play at second base. So that's Triantos. So that's another one I think that is interesting. But time will tell. Like I was just telling Matt on our show, at least for the month of July, we'll have a lot of stuff to talk about, just not in the way we wanted to.
How would you like to win a Cubs autographed piece of memorabilia? Steven won a Matt Shaw baseball, Everett won a Brennan Davis auto, and Matthew won a Luke Little ball. And we have so many more that we're giving away. Cade Horton, Mark Leiter Jr., Ben Brown, Jordan Wicks, and more. How can you win these? Easy. All you have to do is be signed up for the Setup Man emailing list. Every month of 2024, I'll be putting every single name on our list into a virtual hat and drawing the winner. Plus, every now and again, I'll do some giveaways on my live videos. All you have to do is go to setupman.net, scroll down to the bottom, and put in your name and email. That's it. Sign up for our list, and you'll give yourself a chance to be one of our lucky winners. Hey, I want to take a quick minute to give Obvious Shirts a shout out and big thank you. Joe Johnson, the founder of Obvious Shirts, is a friend of the channel, and as a thank you, he is giving all of Setup Nation a 15% discount on Obvious Shirts merchandise for the 2024 season. Click on the link in the YouTube description below or go to obviousshirts.com and use the code TheSetupMan15, no spaces, all lowercase, at checkout. Thanks again to Obvious Shirts, and go Cubs. We want them to go on a run, but honestly, I don't even know if and I'm thinking ahead, and I hate that I even have to start thinking this way so early on in the season, but I don't want them to go on a run like they did last year if they're just not going to make the playoffs. I would rather see them not give up a Jackson Ferris, or not Jackson Ferris. Who was it? It was Kevin Made and
DJ Hurts.
And DJ Hurts. Thank you. Two lefties there. I would rather not see them give that up for a rental who plays below average for 40 games. I'd rather them keep those guys. And that's my biggest fear, is that, the guys that maybe don't pan out as all-stars, I think it's like the James Triantoses and the potentially the Ballesteros who can't play defense or is questionable on defense. Those are the guys I'm like, okay, if you trade them and we get some controllable guys for the future, okay, that's fine. But then you start talking about Owen Casey, Cade Horton, Kevin Alcantara. I don't want to see those guys go just for a quote-unquote chance to make the playoffs in 2024.
Yeah, and that's why I don't even think they'd buy if they went on a run. I think they just stand pat. I think I said exactly what you just said on one of our shows the other day. I said, if you were to tell me right now they finish a game out of the playoffs or 15, I would take 15. Yes. If they're going to make a run, they better find a way to make the postseason, which I don't think they're going to do. But if not, just bottom out and, get ready for 25, as disgusting as that sounds.
I think, we also look at the bullpen. Jed has been really big on getting some performances out of the bullpen from guys that maybe get on these 1 or 2 year contracts. And it's really been disappointing to see Neris not perform. Now Leiter is down. And then, another guy I think of, not bullpen wise, but Mike Tauchman, who has a lot of value and really a contract that could have produced some prospects. Who are some guys maybe in the next few weeks that you say, okay, need to see some performance so we can get at least something out of them if the Cubs are still, call it 6-7 games under 500?
Yeah, I think one of the outfielders has got to go, right? You got Happ, because, Happ, not PCA, but I'm saying Happ, PCA, Bellinger, Suzuki, Tauchman. Those, you got 5 of them. So one of them is going to get traded. I'm interested. I bet you tomorrow we'll probably get some sort of update on Tauchman's injury, because it's been 2 weeks, and I think it was a 4-week injury. So, he's an interesting one. But I also I'm in the camp with Tauchman where it's like you're not going to get something back for him that's that significant. So, does he mean more to you than he would matter for someone else, unless some team overpays for him? But one of the outfielders feels like they're going to go. That's where I would go. So one of them. It'd be nice if Bellinger could hit some home runs.
It would be nice if he could play up to at least a $27.5 million contract, or 30, whatever it is this year. I think in the Jed era, there's just been this, aside from the 2021 sell-off, there's just been this wavering, like, we're kind of trying to win, but at the same time, we don't really want to go all in. And now I'm just seeing this as the perfect opportunity to say, okay, you got these prospects that are pretty much ready to come up. I'm not saying rush them, but wouldn't it be better for the guys? Of course, Cade Horton is hurt and we want to get him healthy, but maybe the guys like the Owen Casey's, the guys like the Alexander Canarios who never have been really given a true shot. I really would like to see this team just go all in and say, okay, this team is in, or this year is pretty much a throwaway, but at least let's try to get some guys some development so we know what we have, because that was the problem with Christopher Morel. For the last 2 years, you had a chance to play him at third base. You didn't. Yep. And now you're seeing the result of having to try this out in a quote unquote winning year. Where do you stand on that?
I agree. I think adding anything there would be unnecessary. I agree completely. The only thing I'll say is I really don't think they're very high on Canario. I think their actions have said that. But I agree. Get Casey up here, get Canario up here, at least give the fans something to watch the last couple months of the season, because that matters. And see who you have. I don't think Shaw's quite ready, but I'd like to see him get the call up to AAA pretty soon. And maybe even Triantos and go from there. But yes, I agree. I agree completely.
So Canario, I would put maybe Brennan Davis in this category, and also like Matt Mervis. It just doesn't seem like the organization wants to give them shots. I think that might be some value there. You look at a team, and I made a video about this a couple of weeks ago where it was just like, hey, they don't have to be buyers, they don't have to be sellers, but also they could still make some moves for potentially the future. And maybe a team that is also in the cellar is like, hey, we don't have a first baseman of the future. Matt Mervis didn't work out for the Cubs. Maybe he can get a different viewpoint here in Colorado. Like just maybe looking at it that way, where it's like, hey, neither one of us teams are interested in winning this year. So since these prospects haven't worked out for us, why don't you guys try them out and we'll take some of your prospects in return?
100%. I think a lot of moves like that, are probably in the future. Mervis is a guy that, I hasn't really shown in limited time that he could hit here, but it's a great opportunity for somebody else to take a flyer, because the Cubs aren't going to take one there with Bush there with the way he's hit. So yeah, those type of guys, those tweeners, right? They're tweeners. It's kind of like the Nelson Velasquez thing for last year that actually worked out terribly for both sides. Okay, let's see if we can get somebody back for him. You take a chance on him and go from there. But ultimately, I'm looking at the big ones. I want to see, like, I really think, if they continue to go, like, either Happ or Bellinger is going to go, and I'm really maybe both, and I'm really excited to see, because when that trade gets reported, I know exactly what I'm going to be tweeting. Who's eating the money? What's the money situation? Because that's what I'm looking for. The deadline's not exciting, but if they could end up getting a decent player and somebody to take on the last couple of years of Happ's deal, thank you.
Do you feel like Ian Happ should have been traded back in 2022 when those rumors were there? It was the same Wilson Contreras situation too.
I remember. Hindsight's 2020. I know that I was never on board with extending him until I saw the deal. And when I saw it was at 3 for $61, I was like, you know what? That's pretty fair for Ian Happ. And I like Ian Happ as a human. So I was like, all right, fine. I don't think the Ian Happ contract has actually really hurt them that much. I think it's a combination. I think the stuff that's really hurt their financial flexibility is just whiffing on the Mancinis of the world, the Barnharts of the world, with all due respect, the Kyle Hendricks of the world. At $16.5 million is not chump change. 16, you don't re-sign Smiley. You don't sign Smiley and you don't take that option on Hendricks. That's $25 million you could have had to put at third base this year, or catcher. And so those are the deals that eventually really hurt you. At least Ian Happ's been around. He's played. He's produced. So no, I don't have a strong conviction on that.
Okay. Before we get into this game that I've got for us at the end here, I would be remiss to not give you an opportunity to talk about your opinion so far on the Craig Counsell era. You already said that you wish he would have, whatever term you want to use, explode on the umpire, get in someone's face.
Be a leader.
Yeah. So tell me just let's start off easily here. Would you rather have Counsell over Ross still?
Yes.
Okay.
Would much rather have Counsell over Ross. I just overvalued the impact of maybe managers in general, because I genuinely thought when he came here, we were going to see a difference in the way the Cubs played. We were going to see a difference in close games. We were going to see just a different energy and credibility with the team, and that hasn't been the case. And I understand that he's gotten a really bad hand. The bullpen's been injured. They've been bad. Guys haven't produced. But it still hasn't been the impact I thought. And as I've said on the show multiple times, on our show, I don't really think it's as much his fault as it is mine just over expecting what a manager could do, because the other side of it is Milwaukee hasn't missed a step without him. So I think the answer is pretty clear there that, hey, is he a better manager than Ross? Probably. But is that going to really change things if you're not hitting and you're not pitching out of the bullpen? No, it's not.
I think the biggest fear that we still have with him having another 4 years on this contract was just a really good starting staff and a really good bullpen and a pretty good defense masking potentially not an awesome manager.
Right. And the thing is, it's not like Counsell hasn't done a lot of stuff bad this year. I haven't had many games where I've been like, what was he doing? It's just he hasn't done anything to help keep the ship afloat either. It's just he's just been as I was saying to my dad the other day, it's like give me $40 million to just go, hey, if we play well, then I'll manage well. Hey, if we play bad, then I'll manage bad. I thought he was gonna for what he's being paid, he's getting paid like a player. Like he needs to help make a difference, and I just don't feel like he's made any difference in this team so far.
And I think the worst part of it is that not just David Ross, but I feel like the Milwaukee Brewers fans are just like, yep, there you go. We'll have them, Cubs fans. It wasn't Counsell, it was a system. That's what we keep hearing. Yep. So where do you stand on Jed? Are you completely out? Are you completely give him the last year of the contract? Where do you stand on all that?
Yeah, it doesn't look good. I was a big Jed supporter for a long time, but at the end of the day, this is a business. He's the head of the baseball ops. The team is terrible. He put together this team. His calculated approach has really hurt, and I would feel like I'm doing a disservice to your listeners and mine if I came out here and defended him. So where I'm at is that if things don't change really soon, I don't see how he can get an extension with what he's done so far. I still think he did some good things with the farm system. I still think it was a pretty quick turnaround. But, you went out, you told everybody, hey, and when I say told everybody, I mean with your actions, not your words. Hey, right. We didn't make the playoffs last year. The missing piece was a manager, and now you've been significantly worse. So.
Well, we can go a lot deeper into that, but I am going to go ahead and make the transition now to the end of the show here, where we have an awesome game that I have called Make a Statement. So, Sam, you are really opinionated, and you have strong opinions on just about every aspect of the Cubs. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to name 10 players, and I want you to make a statement on each player so far in 2024. Here's the catch. You cannot say over one sentence. It has to be one sentence or less. Even if you want to use an adjective or two, you can do that. But it has to be one sentence or less. Are you ready to play Make a Statement?
One sentence or less. Got it.
That's two, so you're already behind. Just kidding. All right, here we go, Sam. Shota Imanaga.
Very solid and surprised.
Love it. Dansby Swanson. You want to say so much.
Jason Hayward.
Oh, yeah, this
is for 2024 only, right?
Okay. Yeah, for 2000. Well, okay. Yeah, I guess we'll say 2024 only. Okay. I didn't make that specific. We'll say that.
Jason Hayward.
Okay. Christopher Morel.
Failed experiment.
Good. Tyson Miller.
Hero.
Okay. Hector Neris.
Overpaid.
Love it. Miguel Amaya.
Having one of the worst seasons of a Cubs everydayer that I could possibly remember.
There we go. Here's a random one for you. Colton Brewer. Had to throw one in.
Wanted him to succeed, but probably not going to happen.
Okay. Ian Happ.
Plain.
Okay. Finishing up with number 9 and 10 here. We already talked about Craig Counsell, but I want you to now sum it up in one statement. Craig Counsell. There we go. And the Cubs front office as a whole, not just Jed.
Not good enough.
All right. Sam Olbur, thank you for joining us here on the Setup Man, and appreciate everything you do over at Locked On with Matt Cozy. Guys, go check it out. Sam, any last words for us here on Setup Nation?
No, appreciate you having me on. I love what you guys do. Watch a lot of your stuff. I just watched actually today the breakdown of the crazy inning that you did. That was people were really watching that, so that was good. And yeah, man, big fan. It was good to meet you over at Ranterfest, and all good things.
You're the man. Thanks so much, Sam.